I am an ex-Jehovah's Witness. I was in it for 30 years. I know cults like the back of my hand. I know how they operate. It's really difficult not to see a cult now after having been in it, having had to escape that. This stuff is very cult-like.
About the bot thing, which,
yes,
I think one of the scariest things about just that, at the most simplistic level, is perception makes reality, right? Just think about it as a pure political matter. I can't tell you, I've talked to politicians here in Pennsylvania, right? And it's amazing how they will craft policies or messaging based on what they interpret as popular. Well, what if you could astroturf what's popular through bots? Now all of a sudden a particular topic, a message, a policy, whatever, that wouldn't seem to be that popular, now all of a sudden it looks like, wow, every time I talk about that online, I get massive engagement. Everyone's like, wow, yeah, great point. And so it seems as if, and we knew this even before bots and AI, you knew this, right? If you could astroturf by having people that instead of internet, you had people that were culturally important, like entertainers. So all of a sudden, if all entertainers come out and they're like, yeah, gay marriage is cool, it wouldn't matter that previous to that 90% of people, theoretically, I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass, but if you had 90% of people that was against gay marriage, and then all of a sudden, these people that are involved in like 90% of our media consumption start all saying the same thing, that perception changes reality. And so it's easy to see. And I think even at the most base levels, we all do this. I do it. You'll be looking at a tweet, right? And you're like, oh, that's a fucking banger tweet. Look at that ratio.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like, how do you really know? Right? Like maybe that ratio is bullshit. Maybe it turns out that it was 90% bots that like that or whatever. And so, but when you're lazy, when you're just doom scrolling, right? And it's like, that's different than if I'm trying to come up with an argument and I'm thinking critically. But let's be honest, we're not all doing that all the time. In fact, I'm not doing that most of the time. So it's scary shit. And, it just in the realm of politics and culture, like I tell people this, did you see these? I think it's called VO. Am I right about this?
Yeah, VO. That's right.
Did you see all of these videos that are blowing up on social media now where it's like Sasquatch and he's doing a selfie?
Yeah.
And he'll be like, yeah, I'm out with my fucking buddy. And it's all just this VO bullshit. And it's absolute garbage. I look at him like, this is schlock and shit. And yet you look at the views that it's getting. People that are putting that shit out, it's like they go from like, 1,000 subscribers, all of a sudden they got something like 70,000 subscribers. And they're what? Typing in a few words into a prompt, putting this out, turning out this bullshit. I've even seen creators say, like, I don't know if this is true. I think that it might be bullshit, but there was a creator I saw that was pissing with this on YouTube. And he was doing like, for the sake of argument, we'll say Minecraft videos, shit like that, like react videos to Minecraft. And his whole shtick was, I'm going to create an AI with a voice that sounds reasonable that just churns this shit out twice a day. And my channel's going to go through the roof. And it did. And it's just like, there's no human creating this. It's literally just, it's creating the transcript. It's finding the clip. It's doing the voice. I just click upload. That's all I'm doing. And I'm getting 100,000 views per video. And now the ad revenue's rolling in because it's just absolute like garbage food, for the masses, but enough people are going to click on it. It's surreal.
Yeah. I'll do you one better. Let's go deep into the conspiracy hole with just one study. It's very brief. Facebook ran an unsanctioned study, I believe in 2012. I went over it on one of my streams. You can fact check me again. And what they did was they started playing a little bit of a social experiment on their feeds. And so they had users who would post positive or negative feeds on purpose, or they would kind of cater what you would see as part of your friends and family feed. And then they would see the reaction of friends and family as these mostly positive, mostly negative feeds came in. And the overwhelming result was that if you're going to see negative things, you are also going to post and feel negative. If you see positive things, you are also going to post and feel positive. That was a social experiment that happened before AI. And now you can do it in mass. And we already know this shit works. It works beautifully. It's very cult-like. There's a reason why cults have existed for tens of thousands or potentially just thousands of years, whatever time frame you want to look at it. They've been around forever. There's a reason why they're still around today. I am an ex-Jehovah's Witness. I was in it for 30 years. I know cults like the back of my hand. I know how they operate. It's really difficult not to see a cult now after having been in it, having had to escape that shit. This stuff is very cult-like and it works so well, and it's so easy and it's so deceptive. That's much deeper conspiracy theory. Who's behind that? Palantir, like there's all kinds of stuff there. But yeah, man, you're right.
So let me give, even though the bastard didn't make it a super chat, a little bit of pushback and see what you say about this. ML says, like, look, even your map was bullshit. You could look at it for 3 seconds. This shit's not going to become super powerful, right? It's like, it's churning out bullshit that's easy to see through. So I don't think it's going to be that nefarious. Like, what do you say to that?
So he's right. This is a problem. So there have been studies, and again, I go over them again. So to his point, I have a whole slew of studies that I've gone over on my streams that prove that there are fundamental limitations to the way that these structures work. So even as of recently, Apple came out with a very in-depth study on the AI models and how they work. But essentially, it doesn't even matter how much power and how much kind of like a breadth of knowledge that you allow for them to execute at any one given moment. There is a fundamental premise where the LLM itself, like the statistical model, only goes so far. Low complexity stuff is hit and miss. Anything beyond low complexity stuff, like what's like 1 + 1 and stuff like that, there's a threshold barrier there. It's off the rails at that point. So no, AGI is not going to take over. But the point is that it doesn't have to. It's that even though this, I'm going to push back on ML. That's an internalized argument. You're making an argument from internalization where you're going, yeah, but I know better, therefore it's okay, dough. No, that's not that you can't make a general statement out of that. And unfortunately, to Rob's point, if you go look at what the general populace and what generally people are doing with these things, they are not like you, ML. So while you might be right, what you cannot do is attribute it as a generalized argument that, well, surely everybody must understand how stupid these things are. No, they don't. And there are people who know this and they will use it to their advantage because it doesn't have to be artificial general intelligence. It just has to be good enough to seep into the minds of people who are not like ML.
Yeah, and I talked about this on my video that was put out today by Black Elk, my editor, when I was sort of going through this attack on Andrew Wilson based on this debate he had with this Oliver guy. And I brought up this story. There's a person I know who's a smart person, older than me, generation before me, but smart, by no means an idiot, one of the smarter people I know. And I remember when Trump gave the State of the Union speech in 2019, I think it was, in his first term, Nancy Pelosi stood up behind him and ripped the speech in half.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
All right.
Yes.
And so the Babylon Bee or the Onion, one of them, puts out an article that says Nancy Pelosi rips Bible in half at the end of the State of the Union, right? And the joke was like, it would be too hard to rip a book in half and she's secular, whatever. But this person bought it. They bought it. They saw the picture, and you could look at the picture and it was comical. But the problem was they weren't looking at it critically. If they would have thought about it for 3 minutes, it would have been like, oh yeah, this is clearly bullshit. Like, she's not strong. But you just see that in passing, you're like, huh, you're not expecting, right, that someone's fucking with you. You're not expecting it.
Yeah.
So you're just like, I can say it looks like a news site, so I just accept the story. It would be no different than if I'm thumbing through the New York Times and there's an article that's just like, acid rain uptick 70% last year. You're just like, oh, okay. Right? Like, you're not thinking, what's the agenda behind this? Why would they say this? What's the proof? If you're a casual reader, you're like, oh, okay. Unless then it's something that you are critical of. And so I think that that's what you're going to see even with, I saw this the other day. I didn't think it was AI necessarily, but I knew it was fake. It was staged. Did you see the video that was going viral of a woman arguing with a flight lady?
Kangaroo.
With the kangaroo that's holding the boarding pass. Right. And as soon as I saw them, like, this is clearly bullshit. The kangaroo wouldn't be sitting there. It's just too fake looking. It's like, but how many people bought that? They were
Tons.
like, yeah, that's, can you believe that they didn't leave that support kangaroo on the I saw it everywhere. And I didn't.
Justice for kangaroo. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was AI or if it was just staged, like people that had a real. Yeah. But I knew you have an intuition. It's like, something's fucked up about this. This isn't right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I'd say about it is, you remember the nightmare fuel that was like 2 years ago with the Will Smith eating spaghetti shit?
Yes.
That was coming from. Now look how much better it is. It's still bullshit. I can still tell that's clearly, but that's 2 years and it's come that far. I'm not saying I have no clue if it'll ever get to the point where it's like indecipherable to anyone that's not a programmer. But to me, it's like, there's shit now that I see already that could pass.
Yep.
that for the casual average person would be like, yep. And especially the more benign it is. It's just Will Smith walking his dog. You'd be like, yeah, why am I? You're not thinking. Now, if you see Will Smith like beating the shit out of someone, you might be like,
yeah.
Unless it's Chris Rock again. But you might be like, what's going on here? But so, yeah, that's what I would say to ML. I agree that it's, you see the shit, the extra finger, or especially with words, because I'll use AI. I use it for like thumbnails and shit. Like I may have even used it at one point. Whoops. Did you see those dollars in the background? Like the numeric values and the pictures are all fucked up, right? It's like it can't do words. It can't do numbers.
Yeah.
Right? Like it screws up with stuff like that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that's what I would say. And then the larger point I would say, and I think you've made this quite succinctly, it's not just about, I know you had a name for it, but that type of like the pictures, the videos, the song, it's like all the shit in the background. Like the curation of information, and there's one slight part of it that's wrong through some agenda. Like, how are you going to pick up on that? That like, hey, show me a pic. You know, what did the first people in Norway look like? And it's like they're black, and you're like, oh, okay. But someone behind the scenes that created that AI was like, make sure that you're putting diverse people.
Yep.
But is your kid that's doing his book report going to know that?
Yep.
Or did they grow up thinking that's what people in Norway looked like back in the day? That's the Vikings. This is what Cleopatra looked like, right?
Yep. It's really briefly, because I don't want to take up more of your time unless you want to keep chat. But
well, I should probably get to the protest shit here soon.
I'll just add this last thing. Then it's even worse than that. It's not just stuff you see. I went over 2 stories. One of them was where students in, say, North Korea and other Asian countries are creating AI fake profiles as students. Then they get into university schools in America, and then they take these student loan money and they funnel it back. And then there are people who are creating AI fake profiles with full resumes and everything. They create like a fake persona during video calls that's run by AI, and they will get jobs at companies that have very sensitive data. And then by the time they have access, it's too late. This shit goes crazy wild. It's beyond just, oh, look at Will Smith, eating spaghetti. No. This shit infects life. And I say this all the time. Your loved ones, the people around you, especially as programmers, can be adversely affected in major ways. We have to get our shit together. The good news is that we can. There's actually not a lot of effort that would be required to change this around. But the key thing right now is persuading people. And that's why I'm coming out right now, because I'm hoping that now that I've gathered all this evidence and have the backlog of videos and all the receipts, and hopefully I did a reasonably not too stupid job explaining this today, I want to start persuading minds that, like, guys, we're about to hit a really bad place. We could stop this now before it's too late. That's what I want to get out there.